Okay, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this November 9th, 2016 day on our calendar. I'm your host, Greg Anthony. You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. You can listen to my show every evening, Monday through Friday, from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Time. They also play the show at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, and if you can't get it there, go to my long-standing website, ArcticBeacon.com. That's ArcticBeacon.com. You can get shows going back over a decade regarding what I call the Vatican-led New World Order, all its tentacles, and how it affects you in your life. This is part 22 or 23, I forget. It's been a long night. It's been a long night for a good reason following the presidential election, and if most people know by now, if you don't know by now, you're living in some kind of cave world. If you don't know by now, Donald Trump is president-elect, and this is part 22 or 23, I forget, and by the way, the last part of what I call the biggest off-Broadway stage play ever produced in the history of mankind. Presidential elections 2016. We have a president-elect, an actor, a billionaire actor, who's now set to lead America in this great stage play they've created for us. And let's look at it this way, though, for a moment, if I may indulge you. I don't think there's a luckier guy in the world right now than me. And the reason I say that is I'm from Chicago, and the Cubs won the World Series. That's one. Okay? Now, do you realize on my show I talk to a very interesting audience, people that go behind the scenes, people that go farther than the mainstream, farther than most of the alternative, and try to bring the spiritual together with the secular world and connect the Vatican and all of these things that are never told to us, and make sense out of it and try to live in this world. However, at a certain point, you know, there are certain things like when the Cubs win the World Series, and I've been a Cub fan ever since I was born. I was born in Chicago, grew up near Wrigley Field all my life. It's one of the great days of my life when they won, and I get emails from people, sorry to break your bubble, Greg, but the World Series is fixed. All sports are fixed. Okay, everybody has their opinion, and we'll just leave it at that. Secondly, I said to people yesterday before when the election started and we were watching the returns with a small group of people, I said to myself, boy, it would be great if he could win. And there were a couple of people who understood what my show's all about, said, well, you know, Greg, he's a Jesuit plant. There's not going to be anything good for America. And I said, well, let's think about that later. But let's think about certain things, the reason why I was happy he won. The reason I was happy he won was that he's going to lift some of these burdens from this country. And some of the burdens are Obamacare, which is terrible for people that are ill. Premiums are so high. I mean, it's a terrible thing they did. Secondly, he's going to lift regulations, get coal miners back to work. He's going to get people in the timber industry back. He's going to get rid of regulations along now with the Republican Congress and Senate that are going to allow family farms to function a little better. They're not going to be strapped by the EPA. I hope, and I was listening to one person today that they get rid of the IRS. Look at what they did to Tony Alamo. They put him in jail years ago for 4 years when he didn't do anything. The IRS should be disbanded and replaced with a group of auditors. Nothing more, nothing less. I know they won't go as far as getting rid of the income tax, which we all know is unconstitutional, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Let's look at some of the positive things that will happen that will relieve some of the burdens for our citizens. I'm looking at it simply at a point in my life when I was a young man. I took over one of our family restaurants, and man, I couldn't make a go of it. And this was when I was a young guy still wanting to do something. I mean, I graduated from law school, decided that that was terrible. I didn't want to practice law, and I started in the restaurant business years ago. And boy, let me tell you, I'm looking at it now. If they lower the tax rate, the business tax, from 35 to 15, get rid of a lot of these stupid regulations, maybe we can do business again and create jobs in this country. You think a small guy in business can create jobs with the regulations that Obama and these people have put on us? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I know it firsthand. Well, before, I got a whole bunch more. I want to tell you why. Now, I realize it's not a perfect world, and I realize there might be a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and we'll get into those as the years, as the months go on. This is my last show on this final stage play, which has culminated now with the new actor taking over the White House, Donald Trump. However, what they've done here, it's a reality show. You got to remember, it's all going to be real, back to us. What they're doing in Washington now comes back to us, and we live in this world. So let's look at the good things for a while here. Good things come in threes for people, right? I've already got my two individually, right? Cubs winning the World Series, and whoever's sending me those emails that the World Series was fixed, please don't do that until next year. Let me enjoy it, okay? Secondly, my second miracle was Donald Trump. And people said, well, Greg, I said, look, this is going to relieve the burden for a lot of people. I'm telling you, it's going to help the business climate. It's going to get people back to work. And that in itself. And we're going to maybe cut down on illegal immigration and maybe really start moving towards getting rid of ISIS, the plague that they created themselves. And there's a lot of public things he stated that, boy, it's going to be interesting to see if he can follow through on these things. But just in the broad sense, there's going to be some good things. Now, my third miracle, everybody, see, when you get two like I got, everybody now has the third one, because the good things come in threes, right? So my third one is going to be this, and it's going to happen. We're going to get Tony Alamo out of jail, out of prison. Yes, we are. And if you go back to my website, you'll see for years and years I've been struggling to get this story out there. How are you going to ever get him out with a pardon when you had Clinton and Obama and these people are the ones that put him there? 175 years for crimes he didn't commit because he had a Christian church. And all the things Trump's talking about will help that. He wants to bring back charter schools. He's going to allow homeschooling again. Education system in this country is ridiculously stupid and terrible. People are, look, you can go out, they don't even know what the Constitution is all about. They have no idea. They were, at least maybe now we can for a while realize that. And maybe we're going to help some people really understand what's happening here. And the schools that Tony Alamo had started for all the people in that church were really working, and they were disbanded by this government who stole these children. Maybe we can get them to acknowledge that was wrong. Maybe we can stop them from trying to take all of their Christian property. And it is my hope that with this Trump administration, and we got to start working on it right now, guys. I put out that petition site. You can go to Tony Alamo, freeTonyAlamo.com. Thank you, a guy named Robbie, for getting that going. Now we can start moving ahead and really seeing if we can get these Christian pastors to listen. If you're talking, they're all talking now about religious freedom with Trump. Okay, let's see if we can get it here. Because we know it's Clinton who put Tony behind bars. He had the ministry in Arkansas. It would have never happened. We got a chance now. And I think that third miracle that from me, good things come in three, is going to happen. So I want you to go to that Free Tony Alamo site. And then I want you to put your name down there. And you know how many voters? How come everybody said Trump was going to lose? It's because of the silent majority of people who are afraid to even say they supported a guy like Donald Trump. And guess what happened? They all did. And I may add, Wisconsin, along with Pennsylvania, were the states that put him over. And I could not believe when Wisconsin went red, a place where we had a dairy farm, my family. about 60 miles above Chicago. My dad was in the milk business. So anyway, so there, folks. I know there's a dark side to all of this stuff behind the scenes, but we have to look at what can help a number of people. How can you preach to anybody if they can't eat? I know what you're going to say. If people are hungry, they can't listen. They need to work, and I think jobs are going to come back. We're going to see the coal industry back. We're going to see the timber industry. We're going to see farms get rid of all these stupid regulations, and they can do it now, and they better work quick because they got a friendly Congress, they got a friendly Senate, and Trump has said a number of things. What about that wall he wants to build? What about stabilizing relations with the rest of the world? Putin already said, I can work with Trump. We want to avert a World War III, and there's a better shot at it with Trump. So my third miracle that's going to happen is we're going to get Tony out of jail. Go to freeTonyAlamo.com, then go to the petition site, and we will do that. Come on, let's move. Let's help. Let's get this in front of people. Pastors now are saying with Trump we can have freedom of religion. Well, let's present this case to him. Now, here's my point. They're already talking. They're already talking today. So this is the stage play I'm telling you about, man. They're already talking about, well, what should Donald Trump do? Should he pardon William Jefferson Clinton and Hillary Clinton, stop all the investigations into all their crimes? And you answer that question. Let me see what an evangelical pastor said this morning. He said, government should hold people accountable. That's the job of government, to hold people accountable for their crimes. Because if we allow evil to continue, it will continue even more. So you make that decision. And I want to say this publicly, that if Donald Trump pardons crooked Hillary and Bill Clinton and all of her cohorts who have proven to commit so many crimes against our national security, killing, do you ever watch 13 Hours in Benghazi, where she literally allowed 4 Americans to die because of her Libyan policies, while 4 Americans were screaming for help, being bombarded by all the weapons that they gave these people, these rebels there. She just turned a blind eye and said it was a video. When she told her daughter in an email and another person, she knew it was an attack. And we could have been there in an hour and a half. These people were there 13 hours. Our ambassador was killed. She then lied to the family members. She deserves no pardon if you really think about it. But if Trump does it, pardons on, that's just one of the many crimes. I mean, we don't even want to get into Mena, Arkansas, and what they did when they were there, and how many dead bodies are around the Clintons. And now maybe that's over. We don't have to listen to this anymore. Put him away in the pasture. Let him go away. But if he does pardon her, we got to go to Washington, D.C. with this case in hand. And there's got to be a lawyer out there. There's got to be someone that says, look at all the crimes that Clinton has committed, and look at what this man is sitting in jail for 175 years. And if we want religious freedom back, this will be a good bellwether case to see if we can do it. So I know a lot of people out there want this to happen. Please start thinking of ways to get this in front of people. I know in the next couple weeks, everything is going to be kind of chaotic. Everybody thinking about what's going to happen in the new with the new presidency, and what's going to happen with the immigration policies. He's going to shore it up, because we cannot allow what's happening in Europe to happen here. And all you got to do is, now I talk to people in Europe all the time because I live there, and it's a mess. And hopefully we can put borders up. And hey, why not? I am all for building that wall. Maybe that'll create some jobs too, A lot of people in San Diego need work. I see homeless people all over the place. They could work, give me a break. You can't help people by giving them welfare. You got to have a purpose in life. You got to have an opportunity. And how many Americans felt like there was nothing left? I talked to a guy today, an older man. We're walking. I was going to take a shower at the RV park. And I saw him, and boy, he said, I was just thinking about leaving America, but I'm staying for a while now. So there's a little bit of hope and optimism for people working. Now, they may not understand everything that we do here on this show. They may not. But it's a start, because I know that now it'll be easier to talk to people. It's easier for you out there who spread the word of God to talk to people who have hope and optimism, and they'll listen. When somebody's so depressed and dejected and can't get work, can't do anything, feels as if the country is turned into a socialistic, crazy state, feels as if everything, the weight of the world is on them, you got nobody working in the house. It's so difficult to get them to listen. They may think, God's the last resort, but is that the real way to get at it? No. The real way is to open people's minds, not only to to the spiritual end, but sometimes even the secular world can open their mind up to the spiritual. That's why I got into this. I mean, everybody comes to these conclusions in their own way. So, that's my third miracle this year. And we'll be talking a lot more about it. I want to bring some of the people on next week after the dust clears with this presidential election. The stage play, this part of the movie is over. I'm sure they'll have more. And let me tell you something. I'm relishing in the fact of all these, something? I was blessed when I lived in Italy to work in the movies and make money there because they needed American faces, and I was a writer, and I got a SAG card, the whole works. And at a time in my life when I understood nothing about what Tony Alamo talked about how the Vatican and all the things we talk about today. And so I kept some Hollywood ties. In fact, my dog has been in some movies, and it is so gratifying for me to watch all of these Hollywood people get it shoved right back to their face. Robert De Niro, all of you. How dare you talk to the American people the way you did? How dare you call us deplorables, irredeemable? And they were behind the woman that did that to half of America, calling us irredeemable if we vote for Trump. And De Niro. I can go on. Bruce Springsteen, Beyonce, the filthy mouth rapper Jay-Z, all of them, Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, all of them looking down on the American worker. And people ask me, Greg, why are you supporting? You don't seem like the type. I said, you know what? I want the American worker to get a fair shake. I want to see it before I go. There's chances now, investment chances. I'm telling you, it's going to help the young people. All these millennials that are living under this, what I call a totalitarian, you're going to say Trump's totalitarian. Listen, if you remove the shackles of economic growth, you start out with, if you take the business tax, like he says, from 35 to 15, you get rid of the regulations. The stupid EPA regulations. You don't send billions and trillions of dollars to the global warming fund overseas. You stop these stupid deals with Iran, and you start putting America first. You're going to see these young people start opening their minds. And the educational system, we need to get that moving. This educational system in our country is the worst. Look, many of you weren't around when I was around. I'm a lot older than you guys, and I planned to be here a long, long time. But I saw it declining from the 60s on down, and it's gotten so bad now. We used to be first in math. We used to, at least the public schools were passable. Now they're like a cesspool. We can bring God back into the schools. We can get, most importantly, Supreme Court judges that are going to be conservative, and we'll get them in there now. They're not going to allow. Maybe we can get Roe versus Wade overturned. these late-term abortions. Maybe we can do that with this. This is a huge deal. Many of you say, well, Greg, how can you support Trump? Well, alone, if it was just Supreme Court and all the judges that he's going to appoint that with a conservative blend, perhaps we can do some good there. And God never said don't care about your people in your world. Don't isolate yourself. Sure, there may be things behind the scenes that we don't know about these guys, and I'm sure there are, and we'll talk about those. But we have to look at what we were faced with. Look, they are bent. The Jesuits are still bent on destroying Western civilization. Now, how come I looked at this very carefully, and I did my show yesterday and told you why that was before Trump was elected, and I told you why I feel he will get there. And that I'll get to the next half hour. But let me finish with this statement here. I know that if he could get me, someone who never, ever, ever voted, if God could get me to do that, I knew he was going to win. Because there were so many other people like that. And the reason I did it, and how hard was that? Knowing that he may be working with them for some reason that I can't figure out now. But I knew in the short term we needed it. With Clinton, with having that criminal Clinton, I called her a serial killer, and I still believe it. Having her there would have only escalated everything. There would be no hope. Nothing would do. This would be a country moving in the wrong direction very quickly. Now, I'm not saying Trump is the cure-all. I'm not even saying he may do everything he says, but I know he's got to do a number of things, and he will. And basically, the Supreme Court is key, and I think you understand why. So that's what I say. And I know there's going to be people, because that's the audience I have, they're going to say, well, Greg, Donald Trump is this, he's this, and very well maybe. We know he's a Freemason. We know there's something going on behind the scenes, but we have time now. There's going to be a transition period here. We have time. And we're going to get, I believe this totally, at least it's a chance to see more people go to work. You know how many people out there have no idea about the pathway to God, the pathway to a better life, true faith? The Alamo ministry and their people taught me a lot. And a lot of people on this show, all the people that contact me who have much, strict, I'm telling you, I met so many good Christians that make me look like a heathen, to be honest with you. And I think this will help inspire people, inspire young people. I mean, there's so many people out there, they have no idea what we talk about. And I guess one of the greatest services that my show has done is opened up this avenue to show you the satanic element in our government that still exists, but now we got a little bit of a road here to figure this out. We got an opening, so to speak, and maybe God provided that opening for us, because there was no really, if you really understand the global issue here, there was no reason. They could have moved quickly with Obamacare into socialized medicine. They could have moved quickly into strengthening regulations, getting rid of jobs, stripping us even more. We've lost 70,000 factories since NAFTA, and since China entered the World Trade Organization, these crazy programs that have been put upon us. Well, listen, I'm all out of time for this half hour. I'll be back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
Okay, welcome back to the second half hour of the Investigative Journal. This is part 23 of the greatest off-Broadway stage play ever created in the history of mankind, the presidential elections 2016. The lead actor Donald Trump has won the presidency. He's going to start the stage play in a different arena now. He's going to go off and become president-elect. You're going to get a lot of stuff coming up. Remember, it's all a play, folks, but we live in it. It's a reality show we live in. Don't buy everything hook, line, and sinker, but take each day like I'm taking this and look for some of the good that's going to happen for a while, because we've had so much bad. I mean, to me, I have to say this. I listened to Hillary Clinton's concession speech this morning, and that was the best she sounded ever. That's the only time I could listen to her, because I knew I wouldn't have to do it for another 4 years. And she said all the right things, and I said to myself, my God, listen to her, sound like an angel, and she's really the devil in disguise. So I just said to myself, let her go into the sunset. I hope someone holds her accountable for what she's done to people and her husband. I don't know about that. We'll see what happens. But anyway, then I listened to Obama's speech. You know, they give the old transition of power. I look at the presidency as a relay race, passing the baton, and you try to do so many good things while we're here, and we did. I want to know one that he did. And I think I could go right now for the rest of the show and give you 100. Obamacare lied to us. We're going to have your doctor. Your rates aren't going up. He gives $150 billion and has Iran on the path to nuclear weapons. What's going to happen there? How about Clinton selling off 20% of our uranium while getting huge cash flow into the Clinton Foundation, selling the uranium to Russia? How about their policies in Iraq, Syria, Libya, Turkey, and leaving us with a mess? I wish he never had that baton. But after 8 years of him and this socialist agenda that was going to bring Western civilizations to its knees quicker than it will, it probably eventually will happen. I'm no prognosticator. But anyway, so I say to myself, I know I'm going to get emails. First, I'm going to get the ones that say, Greg, I hate to burst your bubble, but the World Series was fixed. Then I'm going to get all these emails, Greg, you know I'm going to burst your bubble, and here's the real truth, the hidden truth behind Donald Trump. Don't you know I know there's a hidden truth there? And we'll get to that in due time. But let's see if that third miracle can work and get Tony out of jail first. How'd you like to be sitting in there? And you know what? I'm going to choose my words very carefully until I get him out, because I think we have a shot here, a real shot at doing it. And let's pray for that. All right, here we go. The stage play, the curtain is closing on Act 1, so to speak. We know who's in the president. We know we're going to get some change in the Supreme Court, which is huge. Scalia died. He was a conservative. Oh, I forgot to even mention Second Amendment rights. Under Clinton, they'd have been gone. Do you realize she supported the Heller case? Or she didn't support the Heller case, the Supreme Court case that stated that every American has the right to bear arms, not just militias. Now, what the socialist Democrats say is they wanted to push for only militia. The Constitution only says militias can carry weapons, not every citizen. And Hillary Clinton supported that, even though she wouldn't tell you that on the campaign trail. Trump wants everyone to have a weapon. That's another positive thing here. Protect yourself. There's a lot of bad people in the world. Now, we also had in this election about 4 states that were they're passing so many gun regulations. The one in Nevada is the worst. Look into it and make sure if you ever get regulations in an election on gun control, you read carefully, because the one in Nevada is complete. It almost takes away your rights, even though they say it's only to control and to make sure that it's not only background checks. It goes way deeper than that. So you got to read the fine print. The devil's in the details. So there are 4 states that had. We also had 4 or 5 states that had marijuana. 4 states passed selling of marijuana legally for recreation purposes is now legal in California and 3 other states, I think, and on top of Colorado. So what do you think about that? Email me. Email me what you think about that. That occurred too. All right. So we have closed the curtain on, oh boy, I'm done with my presidential election Off Broadway Stage play, because it's over. This act is over, the curtain's drawn, and now we've got to wait a couple months. Like I said, we're going to push hard to get Tony out of jail and get this in front of people now who say, oh, with Trump we'll have freedom of religion. Let's see. Let's see if we do. And now's the time to get this in front of them. So we're going to work hard in the next couple months. I know people will be preoccupied with this transition of power, as well as the holidays coming, Christmas. So we're going to shoot hard now, and then first of the year, really start moving if we can't get anything done before the holidays. So let's keep that in the back of our minds and say a prayer for Tony, who still sits in jail right now as we speak. And I hope I want to pass on to some of the people that know him that we're going to do everything we can to get him off. And somebody get this show to the Alamo Ministry for me, will you? Okay. Close the curtain on this series. I'm going to finish up this half hour talking a little bit about it, my personal feelings regarding the state of America right now, and also looking at it from a perspective that, folks, we know that Act 2 is coming up shortly, and the whole world's a stage, and there's a whole bunch of things going on behind the scenes that people don't know about. Even though we got a small victory, I believe, there's so much more that never, what we spent a lot of time talking about were all the things that the mainstream media and the alternative media don't talk about, never brought up in the elections. The real systemic use, of the American money for bringing drugs into this country and where that comes from, Operation Gladio. All the things we talked about, how Obama and Clinton brought in Fethullah Gulen to start. We got a Trojan horse here right now. We got radical Islam right in our feet, under our feet. So let's not think this is over with. Oh, just because we elected this guy, there's no problem. No. We got Fethullah Gulen. Let's see if we can get Trump to get rid of that guy. Go back to my old shows. He's a moderate imam here that's getting hundreds of millions of dollars from the government to start charter schools for radical Islam all over the place. So there is going to be, hitting the fan if we don't start facing these problems. So there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we talk about in this show, and I'm not going to forget about it. So don't think I sold out to no. I'm looking at it practically here, folks, and I hope you do too. So anyway, today's political landscape. I want to go back to a book that I just found out about, really good. It's called Romantic Depression. Not romantic, Romantic Depression. All about the Jesuits and all about some things, good chapters in this book. I always look for new ones that come out. People ask me, why don't you write a book, Greg? I go, I can't sit still long enough. But anyway, let me read something to you because it's pretty pertinent to what we talked about here. He says this, the gentleman who wrote Romantic, R-O-M-A-I-C, Depression. Today's political landscape is far from its cousin only 50 years ago. Boy, this guy, he knew what I was talking about, a stage play. Anyway, politicians no longer look and act the part. They are cartoon characters. Boy, isn't that true? Rhetoric and personal attacks are at an all-time high. Nothing was more true than that. And this Act 1 of this stage play, right? Are being carried out openly in the media, where deeply personal issues are brought to the front. Like so many dramas on popular soap operas and telenovelas, scandals abound like never before and are celebrated as big events by big media and big entertainment-loving Americans. He says this, the entire political arena is a laughable circus act, carefully scripted and choreographed by multi-million-dollar production companies and PR firms that create brilliant illusion and spin. Boy, I'll tell you, just what I was talking about for God knows how many years. But unlike a carnival show, this one is highly effective at attracting more and more Americans to its performances. Now, folks, what did I tell you? I've never seen so many people get interested in a presidential election as this one. Why? Because I think something's going on behind the scenes we don't know. We got to find that out, don't we? Send me your ideas. And enticing them to do the bidding of the Jesuits. Yeah. Now the clear-cut Jesuit here was Tim Kaine, the running mate of Hillary Clinton, the senator from Virginia. And we know Clinton and Hillary's connections to the Jesuits. Their mentors were Jesuits. We know Trump went to Fordham for a while, so there's a connection there. And let's keep moving. All one needs to do is examine one of the results. Americans' public anti-political sentiment and actions are at an all-time high. So instead of bashing American politics, political parties, and candidates, Americans have been pulled away to a new distraction. Look at Max wants to get involved here. And are now mesmerized by some dazzling form of entertainment. Hours a day, 365 days a year, all you can eat. The Jesuits, too, have evolved, he says. When politics failed to control the population, they simply designed and introduced new forms that would attract Americans and control their actions and behaviors. On the outside, the formula is simple and deadly effective on all levels. Again, one only needs to look at the results to affirm these points. From its inception, the American political system has been controlled and run by the Jesuits, who have steered politics in any way they wish. Now, haven't I said that for how many years? Time after time after time, citing you things going way back in history, how they created the Revolutionary War, how they infiltrated our founding fathers. The real reason for freedom of religion. That's why we got to take advantage of it right now when everyone is interested a bit. So maybe we got a little bit of a doorway here. But anyway, as Americans became more educated, they wanted to learn how to have a hand in the decisions that affected their lives. So they got involved in that process, even if only at a local level. Jesuits knew that, folks. Now, I guess we got to listen to what this gentleman says. And I got about 11 minutes. But he asks the major question, how is an American president chosen? He says this: in Europe during the inception of America, only the elite could vote. In America, nearly every man, regardless of his station, could vote. Not only this, since voting for the candidates of their choice was such a novel idea, never before seen in modern politics anywhere in the world, many of these farmers, merchants, fishermen, etc. took great interest in the political activities of their villages, towns, and cities. These hardworking souls learned to vote for people who claimed to have similar values and morals. So those representatives would effectively stand for their own interests. It was a dream come true. However, what those good, trusting Americans did not realize, and folks, what they don't realize today, this is where we're now moving ahead a little bit, aren't we? We're getting a little bit behind the curtain here of this movie they've created for us. And those are my words. But he says this: did not realize then is that their representatives did not actually stand for anything other than a hook and line to attract and reel in new results that were soon under the control of men thousands of miles away. Remember that Jesuit general who said, we control the world, China, America, all over, from a seat you don't even know who we are. And I'll tell you, they still do it today. But author J. Wayne Lawrence, in his 1855 book, The Crisis or the Enemies of America en Masse, wrote, an American gentleman was passenger on board a merchant ship bound from London to Rio. There were among passengers Englishmen, Germans, Frenchmen, Spaniards, and Portuguese. But the person we referred to was the only American. Between himself and the English gentleman, there were frequent discussions about politics, to which such of the other passengers as could speak English could listen, sometimes taking part. Of course, the American was a great friend to the institutions of his own country and defended Republican forms of government, freedom of speech and the press, the vote by ballot, and all these other things. Assailed on every side, he found his office of champion of freedom nothing secure. Every calm morning and every pleasant evening witnessed a new controversy on the deck or in the cabin, but he manfully held his ground against a host of adversaries, and being fluent in speech, strong in argument, skilled in logic, and full of lively, sarcastic humor, and I may add this, I wish there were a lot more Americans like that. We've been dumbed down. That he generally came out of the debate with honor, taking care always to terminate the action at precisely the right moment and to quit the field with flying colors. This goes on for a while. In point of fact, this man was a Roman Catholic priest. And guess what? He was deeply interested in politics, although he never by any chance uttered an opinion or remark on political subjects. And this was this Frenchman who was listening. The Frenchman listening was a Roman Catholic priest, the Jesuit of high standing, listening to this American on this ship expound about all of our freedoms, right? Now, he was a Jesuit of high standing who was going to some station in South America in obedience to an order from his superior. He was a cosmopolitan type indeed. Though not much past the middle point of life, he was rather aged in appearance, in consequence of the great variety and extent of the missions which he had performed in all quarters of the world, and in every kind of climate, from Canada to Calcutta. Didn't I tell you Jesuits are all over the place, under every rock? I used to get criticized for that in the early days. From the breezy heights of the Andes to the unwholesome marshes of Java, by sea, by land, in season, out of season, this man had journeyed on the secret errands of his order, speaking fluently a dozen different languages, and possessing the most perfect power of dissimulation, as well as the most thorough devotedness to the Church, and those carefully trained habits of obedience, which are so essential to the character of an able and faithful Jesuit. He had at length become one of the most accomplished men of his age. As he listened to the conversation of the American passenger, he could not help noticing that he was gradually making converts to Republican views. Many of these passengers, he observed, sought private interviews with the American, and by careful eavesdropping, he ascertained that their object was to ask questions about his country and gain information respecting the actual working of the American attempt at self-government. When the passage was nearly over, the Frenchman, happening to be alone with the American in a retired part of the deck, where their conversation could not be overheard, commenced a quiet chat with him. Addressing him in English, which he spoke with ease and precision, he thanked him with an apparent cordiality for the entertainment he had derived from his conversation, or rather eloquent haranguing to the other passengers during the voyage. He professed to have enjoyed their debates very greatly, and gave the American due credit for his wit, logic, and humor. The American was much pleased at his compliments, for he had conceived a great respect for this silent and attentive French Jesuit auditor, and, in fact, had in his own secret mind set him down as a hopeful to convert to Americanism. He thanked him, therefore, with much feeling, for his good opinion, at the same time disclaiming any merit for success in defending the truth so self-evident as that which is expressed in these few words, that a nation ought to govern itself, and that by popular vote of its citizens. This, said the Jesuit, with a quiet smile, you suppose to be the system of your country, don't you? The American said, I don't suppose it. I know it. Now, said the Jesuit, listen to this. This is good. Now, said the Jesuit, listen to me a few moments, and I will tell you what I know. Your president is elected by the conclave of cardinals at Rome, the same who elect the Pope. Your people nominate the candidates. Our confidential agents select from the number the one whom they believe to be the most favorable to the interests of the Church. His name with those of the other candidates is reported to the cardinals and the Pope. When their decision is announced to the confidential friends of the Pope and the cardinals in the United States, they send forth their orders through the priests, and the whole Roman Catholic vote is thrown for the candidate who is favored by the Church. He, of course, is always elected. Your parties are so equally divided on politics that the Roman Catholic vote, which is cast on purely religious considerations, is always sufficient to turn the scale. The American looked rather blank at this announcement. Even today, very few people understand that their political system is a complete sham. You hear what I said? And that any representatives of their chosen are not by them, but by people who have a specific agenda to counter their own. How could this be? Wow. Isn't that a great way to end this? I got 3 minutes. So what did I tell you in the beginning? What's our role here? We got to move slowly, step by step. We're going to get some advantages from Trump. But we owe it to ourselves and to our friends to listen to what that Jesuit priest said and to figure out what their agenda is now. Because you know that Trump is only there because he was given the blessing of the Pope. He was giving the blessing of the cardinals here. And there's something going on we don't know. And we still, on this show, are going to try to figure it out. And with your help, maybe I can. Maybe you guys got some ideas that I don't have. What is the agenda going on now? It seems like it's anti-global, doesn't it? Now, do you remember what I said on yesterday's show before Trump was elected? I said, I feel he'll be elected because Jesuits believe in chaos. Who's going to create the chaos? We know from this election, it is the liberal elite that hire people to create chaos. They'll get all these poor people. They will get all these people now, I believe, to create some kind of chaos in the future. Because let's say if Clinton won, many of the good, hardworking Americans aren't really attuned to creating violence. You know that as well as I do. So now, what has happened? I don't know if that's true. That's why I figured he'd win. But now we got a big, huge job ahead of us. First, we got to reap the benefits of this. There's so many things that'll happen for uninspired, unknowing people that need work. That, I'm watching this country go down the tubes, really. Maybe we got a little reprieve here. But let's not forget the major reason. And let's not forget, because there's only a few of us in this world that understand this. At least that's my opinion. And I know there's many others out there that know more than I do about it, so give me a hand. Let's figure out what the agenda of the Pope is to get this man elected and where it's going. And like I said, I think we got a little bit of a reprieve, but let's not keep our eye off the, they're going to kick the ball one way. We got to look at the other way. Where it's not rolling is where all the answers are. And they did a good stage job in this Act 1 of what I call the greatest off-Broadway stage play ever produced. My last show on Act 1. We'll be back with more as this stage play of life continues. And on this Wednesday, I'm all out of time. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back tomorrow on the Investigative Journal here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com. Don't forget, catch my show, tell your friends, send this one to the Alamo Ministries. I want them to make sure we get moving. Okay, back tomorrow on the Investigative Journal.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.